You're listening to The Monetized Mom, the podcast that teaches moms of faith how to monetize their expertise online to create influence, impact, income, and more importantly, financial independence. I'm your host, Flo Alexander. Let's chat. All right, guys, welcome to another episode. I'm super excited to have my special guest here today, Shayla Varnado, who is a serial entrepreneur and the founder of what you may have heard of, Black Girls Wine, which curates exclusive experiences for women who love wine. Now, Shayla also had a membership where she had over 1,000 Black women, over 50 chapters in over 19 cities who all love wine. It was her membership, which is what we're going to talk about today, how you can build a 7-figure membership. Now, she's been doing business for over a decade, and she teaches other women how to build their own profitable memberships as well. She's also an author of the book 44 Prayers for the Christian Entrepreneur. So listen, I'm super excited to have Shayla here. We have an interesting story about how we connected on Instagram. I feel like a lot of my stories are somehow on Instagram, and it had something to do with motherhood and business and entrepreneurship.
Yes.
And we literally just connected over the fact that it's hard out here. It's hard.
It's so hard.
Super excited to have Shayla here to talk about her journey to building a 7-figure membership and how you can build one too, as well as how she's able to navigate her business as a wife, a mom, and a serial entrepreneur. So welcome, Shayla. Thank you for joining me on the podcast.
Thank you for having me.
So why don't you tell people your journey in business? I know a little bit about it. It ends in, y'all, it's spicy. It ends in her quitting her job and going to a vineyard, which is so on brand. So
Yes.
Tell me how you got into entrepreneurship, how your business started, all that stuff.
Yes. Okay. I'm going to give you guys the condensed version because it's been a long time. But I originally went into business as a marketing consultant and a fashion stylist. Those were my businesses. I consulted with professional women on their marketing, their personal branding, and their style. My degree is in fashion. So after I eventually sunset my styling business because my goal was to help the everyday woman, and I realized that the business model I had and the target audience I had did not mix. And so I was like, this isn't going to work. It's not sustainable. I had a funeral for my business and I just kind of was like, all right, I'm chilling. And eventually a friend of mine actually called me in 2016 and was like, hey girl, I'm working for, I shall not name the brand, but she called me and she was like, do you want to sell wine? I know you like wine, blah, blah, blah. And so I was like, I don't know. And at the time I was working in corporate and working for people who did not look like me. There was like nobody in management who looked like me. And so when I pulled up this website for the wine brand, I'm like, I'm not also going to sell wine for another brand for people who do not look like me. That is not going to happen. But it got my wheels turning. And one thing that I'm very grateful for to God about is that he always allows me to see the holes in the market. So whatever industry it is, when I tell y'all, like even for my clients, like I can always see the holes in the market. And so when Black Girls Wine came to me, like I just was studying the industry and it was just like, why ain't nobody talking to the Black people? Like everybody I know like wine, and I had my love for wine had grown working, building a professional career and meeting women who were older than me. And they would call me and be like, all right, pick up some Pinot. And I'm like, what is that? And so I learned, along the way. And so Black Girls Wine was born. So you fast forward to 2019. And I'm sick of this job, y'all. When I tell y'all I'm sick of it, I'm sick of it. I have had enough. And so I had this opportunity to go to a Women in Wine event on a scholarship. I just had to get there. And my husband had been telling me for like months, like, just quit your job, just quit your job, just quit your job and figure it out. So I put in for vacation. My manager calls me into the office and she's like, well, unfortunately, you can't take your vacation because we just don't have the staff support. Oh, okay, sis. So I went back to my desk and I wrote my 2-week letter, 2-week notice, and I emailed it to her. And she called me back into the office and she was just like, hey, I got your message. And I'm like, yeah. So what you want me to do for the next 2 weeks? And yeah, the rest was history. I went to that experience, and again, it got my wheels turning. And I was just like, what if I could create this experience for more women of color, more Black women who are interested in wine and want to explore it and maybe just want to have the safety of sisterhood to do so. And it wasn't until I left corporate that that idea unlocked. It was literally about 30 to 45 days to me leaving that that idea completely unlocked. And so I launched it August 2019, and it was around for a little over 3 years. And I built this community. And I should say we, I don't say I, like the women who rallied behind me, who were a fan of the community that I had built and who really wanted, they were craving that sisterhood, that connection, but also enjoyed wine. They came along beside me, and over 50 plus women across the country and around the world joined me in building Black Girls Wine Society. And it was a blessing. I could not have done it without them, but that's just the power of building community. And that's what I focused on first, long before I left corporate.
So when you came up with the idea of Black Girls Wine, did you already have in mind how you were going to monetize it? Or was it just, I want some more girlfriends who are going to go grab some wine with me? Like, what was the whole process or what was the vision when you actually launched it?
I didn't have one. So honestly, so a lot of people were like, oh, you should make a wine. You should make a wine. Now, in the beginning, before I got my certifications, I did my WSET level 1, WSET level 2. So I have my wine certification.
I don't know what that means. Does that
Oh,
mean?
yeah. So WSET is Wine Spirits Education Trust. It's
Okay.
basically, how you can get like certifications from universities. This is
Mhm.
an established organization that is very, very old, based out of London. And you study and you go to class and you get your certifications. Level 2 was like weeks and weeks of studying, group meetings, everything. And then you take the big test, and yeah, and then you're like certified to talk about wine, to educate others
Wow.
and that kind of thing. So even just knowing a little bit of like what goes into that, I was like, I don't want to make wine. I don't want to do that. And so originally I was like, well, maybe I'll just host wine experiences. And I started with hosting the first events, right? So by the time I got ready to launch the society in 2019, I had already hosted events up and down the East Coast that were very successful. They were great. That's how I learned how to use Facebook ads, because I would run ads in cities that I didn't live in order to spread the word. And then I also launched a subscription box, which I hated. I hated having to pull all of these themes together every single month, and then having to get those boxes to the post office. But the biggest thing for me was pulling together the themes and finding what was going to work. And that was actually very successful. And I just was like, I don't want to do it anymore. But the whole time that I was doing it, the biggest thing for me was like focusing on the growth of community. Because if you build community around your brand or business, it does not matter what you launch, they will support it. They will come. They want to be a part of it, right? So by the time I launched the society, I had a little over 20,000 followers. I had been going live every single week on Wednesdays at 8:30, and all of these people had like rallied around. So I think the most rewarding part leading up to that launch, and I think what helped give me the idea, was because I started with building the community.
So, wow, 20,000 women. You built this community, had no idea how you were going to monetize it. And then we landed at a 7-figure membership. So, walk us through the process of, okay, I'm just kind of figuring this out. Okay, I'm going to go tour the East Coast. All right, I'm going to do the subscription boxes, which, by the way, is something that I've always wanted to try. But now I'm just like, I don't know. But how did we get to, I quit my job. I went to the vineyard. I did not have any, idea what I was going to do with this to we got a 7-figure membership. Like, how does that happen?
Girl, by the grace of God.
Amen.
So when I tell you, I'm like, even the idea to like come up with a course to show others how to do what I did, literally by the grace of God, because it was not on my radar. I got my hands on something completely different right now. But I understand that there's so many people who want to do something that they feel passionate about, or something that is fulfilling. And I think that's how I just ended up getting there. So for me, it was a journey of determining what kind of business I wanted to build. The subscription boxes are not like traditional product-based businesses where people get to pick what they want. You are pre-selecting the items, and there's a lot that goes into it. It's hard to maintain your profit margins when every single month you have to source different items for
Mm,
whatever theme that you're doing, unless you have a very specific thing like Fabletics. I think they have like it's like the workout clothes. So
yeah, every month.
in winter months it may be a little heavier, but you make up for that in summer months because you're only in the shorts, right? Well, it's a little bit harder with wine. It was a little harder with wine because glasses break. So now I'm spending money resending glasses to people.
Wow.
Um, and then just different pulling everybody loved it. I just didn't. And when I realized that I didn't like that, I was like, what can I do next? And I knew that there had to be a way to connect the community deeper offline. So outside of the thousands of followers on Instagram and Facebook, how I could bring people together. And with the events, I had so much fun and everybody always had a good time. And I was like, there's got to be a way to do this. And so for me, our membership was in person and virtual. And the in person was what a lot of people were looking for. I had hopes that our virtual would be popping. So that, I wanted it to be more popping and grow that a little bit more. But our in person chapters, they really thrived. Like the women love the connection, even through the pandemic, because I opened the doors August 2019. The pandemic hit March 2020. And I thought that that was going to have a negative impact, but it
Mhm.
actually created a surge in the society
Oh, wow.
because everybody was at home and people were longing for that connection. So the
Yeah.
chapters who were already established, a lot of them still got together throughout 2020. But the women who didn't have that initially, we had hundreds of virtual members at one point. And it was really beautiful. So for me, it was just a journey to figuring out like what business model do I like? What business model is sustainable? I would say even before I guess the idea came to me, I feel like it was just brewing. My subconscious and the Holy Spirit were working together to figure something out because I don't know where it came from.
Which seems to be the story, the thread within this whole story. So
Yeah.
you built this community. Let's talk about the community aspect of it. How
Mhm.
did you rally? Obviously, people love wine, but how did you rally 20,000 plus people around this idea of community around a common interest? Like, how did you grow that community?
So something that I wouldn't do again. I have no desire to do again.
Hey, if you're enjoying this episode, then I know you'll enjoy my weekly email series, The Monetized Mom. Not only will you be the first to know when new episodes drop, but you'll get exclusive content just like this, except in your inbox. To sign up, visit themonetizedmom.com/email. It's free, and as a podcast listener, I'll throw in a special gift. Visit themonetizedmom.com/email to join. Now let's get back to this episode.
Something that I wouldn't do again. I have no desire to do again, but I intertwined my personal brand with the lifestyle brand Black Girls Wine. So a lot of people see Black Girls Wine and they think about Shayla Varnado. It's not just like people see me even now and they'll be like, "Oh my God, you're Black Girls Wine." And I'm like, "Yeah." Or I'll see people in public and they're like, "Oh my God, I think I follow you on Instagram. You're the wine girl, right?" And I'm like, "Yeah, that's me." And initially I thought that it was going to be more of a like account where I could feature other people and everything like that, but I wasn't able to get I would say I guess a team somewhat who wanted to share the platform. So I built it off of my personality. I went live every night and I just shared what I was drinking. And one of the biggest challenges for people who like wine, who are just introduced to wine or, have some interest in it but are curious is that they have no idea where to start. They
Mhm.
have no idea what to look for. They have no idea what even some of the names mean. What is this red? Is it white? And so what my show did was bring people together from around the world and give them a place to talk about and ask questions and get suggestions for how to grow their palates. And so, I mean, I still miss the show sometimes today. I just have a 2-year-old. I can't go live at 8:30 anymore. But I do miss doing it and I really enjoyed it. There's tons of content out there. If you're watching this and you're like, I want to know more about wine, I have YouTube, Instagram, Facebook. It's on all the platforms. There's hundreds of videos because I went live for like 4 years in a row, every single week. But that was how I built the community. I showed up and I was myself. Even before I had my certifications, I still went live. So even before I had the knowledge, which I always tell people, just do it. People like my personality. So was I an expert? Did I have the knowledge yet? No. But they were intrigued by this really bubbly, happy girl on camera talking about a wine she liked. So I built my community off of showing up for them, being consistent. That's one thing that I heard a lot. A lot of people would be like, "Oh my God, you're so consistent. Like we can count on you to be live." So yeah, I showed up for them and they showed up for me.
So there's two things I want to talk about. I'm not sure which direction I want to go in first. One being how you transition that community into actual buyers, because we've heard stories of people who have these large communities and they can't sell a t-shirt. So how did you transition those people into actual, instead of being people watching free content on your YouTube or on your Instagram, or how did you transition them into actually paying, and what were they paying? Well, obviously we know it was a membership, but what were the aspects of the membership they were paying for? And then the other
Mhm.
thing I want to talk about is you mentioned having a 2-year-old. And so one of the things we obviously connected on was motherhood and business and how difficult that is. And you said, I used to go live every week. I got a 2-year-old now. The reason that I have the monetized mom is for that very reason, is because life changes when you have kids, and the way that you used to market and be able to hustle and be on 24/7 prior to
Can't do
kids,
it.
no more. So you tell me which one you want to pick and which direction you want to.
I have to say, I don't even remember the first question because the second one is how I found you. Listen, so I actually found Fo because I had just had my son. And one of the things, okay, so like random, we're going to insert a random story here. I was not expecting to have children and did not think I could have children. And then I got pregnant. So surprise baby to me and my husband, who had been together 8 years at the time. Okay, so that's the story. So the whole time I was pregnant and like even right after I had my son, I really struggled with the idea of like what it would look like to build a business with a baby. Cause it's just not the same. Like my mom was an exceptional mom. She was home with us and everything. She was a teacher. She like her schedule was our schedule. So we got to be with her. Like she was always there for us. She hung out with us in the summertime and took us places like, we had so much fun with her. And I was like, but what does that look like when you're the CEO of the company? That's not the same day to day. It's not the same perspective. It's not the same outlook. Like, I had people to pay. When I got pregnant, I had a team of 8 women working for me, helping me run the society. And that does not include the 50 some chapter presidents as well. So it was just really, I struggled with that. And so I found the whole time I was pregnant, I was looking for moms in business specifically. I was like, I don't care what you do, what else you do. I want the moms who own businesses because I want to see how they're doing it. I want to hear their stories. I want to know how they're navigating and what those sacrifices look like. Because it's also different. Like, I may not be able to be around all summer because I'm running a company. It's not the same. You know what I'm saying? It's not the same. So I wanted to see that example and I found you. And one of the things that really connected me with the messaging that you had was like, you can't listen to people that don't have I'm gonna say your story, but like even some of the business coaches that I follow, and it's like, oh, you got to do this and you got to hustle and you got to give it night and day, night and day. Girl, that 2-year-old is not trying to hear you got to give it night and day. They hungry, they want to play, they want to go outside, they need diaper changes, they get sick every other month. Like it's just not the same. And that's not a sustainable work ethic for a mother. So yeah, that's how I found you. And for me, it has just been, I guess, a search for like, I've been working on my balance. So I try to get as much done as I can while he's at daycare or at school. And then when he's home, I'm very tuned in. It's important to me because my mother was so present and I really enjoyed that. Like she's still very present for us and we all, we're grown. But her being such a present mother, I want to be present too. So for me, I'm not working in the middle of the night. Sorry, I need my sleep because I got to be up to play with him at 8 a.m. before he goes to school, or I got to let him sleep in because he woke up at 4. Like, I need to be flexible for what my baby needs. And so it has been that's been a whole journey in itself.
Right. We can talk about that. But thank you for sharing like the necessity of what the monetized mom is. Because
That
same
messaging
here.
is important and it's needed. It's needed. Say it over and over again. Keep saying it. You could never say that enough because nobody else talks about that. And a lot of the women that look like us that have found great success in the last decade do not have children. So while their messaging is the same, it no longer applies to us. So we need a new group of coaches and business women to raise up. Look, the moms, we got to stand up for each other and we got to help each other find what that balance looks like in business.
Exactly. Y'all, this is why the monetized mom exists for this very reason. Because listen, I remember the days of not having kids and the flexibility that I had. The moment I got pregnant, it's a wrap. All right. So, so let's talk about the getting people to then pay you because
Yes.
people are free. People will join you on a live stream, but when the moment you say, hey, there's a paywall here, how did
Mm-hmm.
you transition that? And what was it that they were getting outside of like the community? Like what were the things that they got in the membership?
So with the online community, they are interacting with me and they're interacting with each other, but it's only but so much. There's no sacred space that can be kept and protected for people to interact who enjoy the same thing. And I'm speaking generally because this doesn't just apply to wine, right? It applies to everything. The monetized mom. If there I would love to be in a community of mom entrepreneurs. Like that's a whole different and that's not the same as all the other communities. I don't want to be in nobody's community at this point that's not a mother and who has not raised kids. I'm uninterested because how you were able to hustle and build is not the same for me. And it won't be the same because they still got to grow up. He got to play games. If he plays sports, he may be into music. There's a whole other person whose life I now have to take into account. So when I was building the community and not knowing where it was going, I just, I kept it very real. I was very transparent. Like even when I, let's say, shut down the boxes, I was like, I don't want to do this no more, y'all. This ain't me. And people were very like receptive, like, okay, she's not doing the boxes anymore. What's next? And that was when I started doing the events. And I love doing events. They're not profitable though. It's like long term, maybe you can scale an event. And I do think that it is a scalable model to become profitable, but it's just a lot as a solo entrepreneur when you're trying to build that way through events only. With a community, I wanted a way to keep everyone connected. And as it evolved, we got better at that. But the biggest things that we focused on offering was the sisterhood and connection because you can't get that on Instagram. Like, yeah, you can interact with me, but you can only interact with me when I post or I share something. If I'm not posting or sharing, then you're just at home by yourself wondering what to drink, right? And so now you come into this community, this group of women who look like you, who love wine, who you can crack a joke about, from two can play that game and everybody's going to know exactly what you're talking about and we're all going to be able to kiki, or you can make a brown sugar reference while we're drinking our Merlot and we're all going to be able to talk about engage and or we can talk about the new, what is that, Divorced in the Black. We could talk about something like, you know what I'm saying? Like it became just a really sacred space. And during COVID, especially with everything going on, all of the racial tension in our country, it really was a great opportunity for Black women to be able to bond and to be connected and express ourselves. Like we had a whole pop-up call one night in particular, and we were all just sitting and just sharing our grievances and our experiences. And there were all age ranges on the call. So we got to hear from the women who went to schools right after they were not, what was it? Not sec-
Desegregated.
yeah, I couldn't think of like half my brain, mom brain. But it was, and even like working in corporate and what that looks like. And
Mm.
at that time, I really was filled with so much gratitude that that space existed so that the women who were in corporate, who didn't have a safe space, could come and share. And so the sisterhood was the biggest thing. But the tangibles were they got to attend a chapter events. They had local chapter events. We had a virtual event calendar that we ran the entire time, pretty much that it existed. Just before we shut down that year, we actually launched our education program. And that was really cool because every single month there were education opportunities that the women could log in to from around the world and learn about wine. And a whole bunch of other perks. Look, they got discounts on the store items. We did trips and travel. That was discounted. So it was a lot of different things that I incorporated that attached to the membership. But the biggest thing was wine education, growing your palate, the sisterhood, and then having that local chapter of women that you could connect with in your city.
So I think that the thing that's different, obviously, about this membership is that it was actually in person, live type of events versus a lot of people who are just doing like the virtual memberships, which nothing is wrong with that. So you mentioned we closed it, we shut it down. So let's talk. And we've kind of you shared this briefly in, a conversation that we had before, but talk about what kind of led to that. And even though you shut it down, why you are encouraging other women to, launch their own membership.
Yeah. After I had my son, I just really was struggling. Postpartum was hard. And I struggled with, to be completely transparent, spiritually, I struggled with the idea that God had dropped this blessing in my lap that I had no idea what to do with and how to juggle both that and business because I knew that God called me to entrepreneurship. And so with those internal struggles. And then externally, the business was doing well, but it needed an updated marketing strategy because it was post COVID.
Mhm.
And the entire approach to how the membership was marketed needed to change. I also needed someone to step in and take my place. I could not be present all the time. And the way, I mean, it's a wine based business. No one's drinking during the day at work, right? So we would have to
We
have
hope
late night
not.
events. Listen, we hope not. We hope not. But we had to have late night events. And I had a 6-month old. I can't log on at 9 o'clock at night and drink with y'all. I am literally trying to wrestle him to bed. So it was that balance. And I feel like I tried everything and I put it out there. I opened up a position. I tried to get people in my community, but my business was impacted by me being pregnant because it was a wine-based business and I didn't drink. And then I breastfed for 18 months after I had him. So you literally have like a 2-year period where I was not able to be as consistent, as engaged, as, just really knee deep in the community the way that I was initially and even leading up to the launch and the doors opening of Black Girls Wine Society. And it impacted the business. So that's what I meant when I said earlier that I would not build a membership off of my personal brand anymore. And even if I ever decided to relaunch the society, I would completely focus, like that Instagram will be its own entity. My name and face will be nowhere near it, and it will be 100% focused on the women. Like, I almost want you to log on and be like, oh my God, I want to be a part of this. I wonder who founded it. That's what I want. I don't want my name to be tied to it at all. So that when you come in, the team that's running it is the team you know. It's not just, oh, this is Shayla Varnado from Black Girls Wine. Why don't I see her? Because it's not about me. You should be joining for the sisterhood. And that kind of it impacted it in the long run. So initially, December 2022, I was like, I can't juggle motherhood and figure this out right now. He wasn't in daycare yet at that time. So if my parents were busy, he would be with me. And if I had meetings that day or something else, like it just became too much and too overwhelming. So I shut it down.
So I want to talk to this point about the personal brand. I'm actually going to do an episode on this, but this is one of the things that I talked about at our my client only conference that we hosted last year. I'm like, we got to step away from building the personal brands. Yes, you can have one, but you need to have a vision and a mission that is beyond you. And a lot of people find me from my personal Instagram. I'm gonna tell y'all the story behind that, why that exists. My other account got shut down with ads. That is the only reason my name is behind the monetized mom. Otherwise,
Yeah.
You wouldn't have, because I that same thing is like, I don't want y'all to, I don't post on social media, and I haven't for the whole summer, maybe twice. I don't want you to connect me with, or me having to show up in order for you to be engaged or want to be involved. Yes, will you see my face when I do lives? Of course. But otherwise, I'm just like, I wanted to separate it. But the only reason that it happened that way is because they shut my ad account down. I couldn't. But now we're getting back to
Mm-hmm.
posting on that particular account. But nonetheless,
Mm-hmm.
for that very reason is why I'm like, y'all build something beyond yourself, which is what you did, and
Mm-hmm.
kind of detach yourself from it in that regard. So I'm glad that
Yeah.
you mentioned that part. Because the one thing about memberships that people always are hesitant about is like, you're going to get people who drop off. How do you keep, getting the members, and, so that you can keep your recurring revenue? So was that a challenge for you? How did you continuously get new members, or did your people just stay because they loved it so much?
With a membership based business, you can't just focus on acquisition. Your biggest focus is on retention.
Mm,
Because if you, let's say, you build your community and you launch this membership and you have 100 people, if you do not take care of those 100 people the next month, even if you open enrollment, you still could stay at 100 people because a quarter of them are going to leave. And then the next one. So the retention is the biggest part of maintaining and growing a membership and making sure that you're executing on your promise and also making sure that people read the fine print. Eventually, we did have to put in writing a membership agreement that people had to read because we did. Of course, you have people who sign up and they're like, oh, I'm not getting any value out of this. Well, did you look and see what was included in the membership? Because this is what it is. I don't know what you were expecting. And so, having those things in place so that before people sign up, they can acknowledge and agree, like, yes, I recognize, because we had chargebacks, not a lot, but we did have them, and we had to address them. So the biggest thing with retention is paying attention to what you say that you're going to do and then executing on doing it.
gotcha. Now let's talk about the course that you have, the
Yes.
program, what it's about,
Mhm.
what people will learn, and how people can get access.
Yes. So the course that I am launching is $1 Million Membership. It's a $1 Million Membership is a course teaching women are my target audience, but anyone could take it. We're teaching women how to monetize their communities. Some of the things that you're going to learn is how to pick and how to build a community that actually is going to work, like it makes sense to monetize, how to decide what you're going to offer,
Mhm.
how to market that community, and how to continue building that community. And so the big focuses are helping you figure out your why, your how, and your what. Because those are the big things that will help a community last. Why do they want to be a member? And why is your membership like the number one choice out of any others that may exist? What is it that you're going to offer them that's going to make them stay? And how are you going to execute on that offer?
I'm excited about it. And the reason I'm excited about it, because first of all, not many women who look like us get to 6 or even a 7-figure membership, let alone. Okay. So not many of us get there. The marketing that I see around, let me show you how to do a membership. It's not women that look like us. So to
Mm-mm.
have you create something, one for you to have achieved what you achieve, first of all, that's amazing.
Well, thank
Secondly,
you.
now to teach other women, especially women who look like us, to be able to do it, that's important to me because it's needed. Much like I feel like the monetized mom is needed, I think having a presence and showing that, hey, we can do this too.
Mm-hmm.
Hello, we can do it too, and I'm going to show you how. That's important. So be sure to check that out. And first of all, tell people how they can find out more about the $1 Million Membership course.
So the course is $1 Million Membership. The Instagram account is Membership to Millions because that is the goal, to launch your membership and build it to millions. And understand that even if you make millions over 3 years or millions your first year, it's all still very valuable, and it's all still really important because you're building community and holding space for people who enjoy the things that you enjoy and value the things that you value.
All right. So I will leave the link to the Instagram. And from the Instagram, will they be able to find the link for the course?
Yes. So right now there is a link up for the wait list. So you can sign up and get on the wait list, and I will let you know. And because I love my mamas, I will definitely give you guys a special offer because I want you guys to do this. I'm going to tell you guys what helped me with building out my membership was looking at people who are really into things and looking at the way they invest their time and their money in it. So my husband is very into sports, like die hard. He does the what you call those things, the leagues, and I'm picking this person for this season. I don't even know how it works, but it's interesting. And like he is somebody who has like the ESPN app on every device in our home. It's playing in the background when he's getting dressed, and I'm just like, so how does ESPN keep you informed? I'm just curious. And what do you get from this membership? And I asked them. I watched my mom makes like really beautiful blankets and like hats and stuff. And she has like spearheaded the ministry at church and leads a group in the community. And so looking at the way people invest their time and interest in what you are interested in is how you can develop a really successful community. So start looking around and then you can get the course and you'll be ready.
That was a gem right there. That's market research at its finest, guys.
Listen. And that's the biggest thing. Now, I will say that's one thing that even with my clients, when I get ready to work with people, that's my first question. What market research have you done? Because you should be able to hand over anybody who you're hiring in your business, whether they're a business consultant or marketing consultant. Here's the market research that I've done. You should know who your competitors are. You should know what's out there. When I launched Black Girls Wine Society, there was nothing. And there's still nothing. You got to know what the industry is that you're coming into so that you know how to market it. And that's the biggest one thing that I will teach in the marketing segment of the course, because the biggest opportunity people have is they don't know how to position their business because they don't know what exists.
This is good, y'all. I might take the course myself, and I don't plan on doing no membership.
We need one. We need one, Fo. Ma'am. Ma'am.
Well, I need some employees first before we more employees before we do that.
And I'm gonna teach you how to do it without having to burn out as well. That's one of the biggest things that I will say. So this course is definitely going to be filled with all of the lessons that I've learned. I am going to teach you how to do it smart. I definitely hustled and worked my butt off to get $1 million, but I can tell you that there are moments that I really, really do miss the community. And if I relaunched it, I would do things completely differently. And that's what I'm going to teach you how to do so that you don't have to burn out. You don't need a team. We keep it simple. And this is how you do it.
Well, we might have a monetized mom membership. We'll see.
But no, I definitely could see so many ideas. And if I redid Black Girls Wine Society, it would be completely different. And it'd be 100% virtual.
I want more of us doing this. Listen, because it's possible. It's possible. And I'm super excited that Shayla is going to show us how. So Shayla, tell the people how they can get in touch with you. You already talked. We're going to put the link for the course, but how can people get in touch with you?
Yeah. So I'm a little bit everywhere, y'all. So Membership to Millions is the course link. Shayla Varnado, I don't create a lot of content on that page anymore. So, I mean, I'm there. I'm in my stories every day. I talk about marriage. I talk about life. I talk about being a mom. I share some of the business things that I'm up to. So Shayla Varnado. And Black Girls Wine, yes, I'm still creating content. I actually am going to go create some content in a little bit here. So you can follow me at Black Girls Wine if you want to grow your palate. Be on the journey with me. And yeah, that's it.
All right. I will put all the links in the show notes for you to be able to check out, whether it's your interest in Black Girls Wine or if you are ready to build your own $1 million membership. Shayla, it's been a pleasure to have you on the podcast and to have this conversation and to know how you even connected and found the Monetized Mom. And we were able to have these conversations about motherhood and business. So thank you so much for sharing. I cannot wait to hear the testimonials of people who have launched their membership and have grown this thing to 6 figures, 1 million, wherever it goes. I'm super excited. So thank you so much for joining me today.
Yes, thank you for having me.
All right, guys, I will talk to you on the next episode.